Tyler Denny versus Felix Cash, 12 round in the 160-pound division. Let's get into it. Let's start with Tyler Denny. 18 wins, 2 losses, 3 draws, 1 win by way of KO. Denny has had a nice little run after his loss to Linus Udoka in 2009, right? He's beaten 4 straight undefeated fighters and 3 big wins last year to close out the year. So there's a lot of momentum moving in his favor right now. When he fought McGowan, that was a very, very close fight. And a fight that a lot of people were saying, man, Denny was holding way too much in that fight. But it was a close fight. But after that, he bounced back after McGowan and stopped the experienced veteran Matteo Cignani. On the night, his combinations were on point. He countered well, moved well, his head and body off the line. He did a good job of not staying right in front of his opponent, but keeping busy and keeping out of the way and making himself difficult to being hit cleanly and consistency. Felt like he was accurate with the shots on the night as well, too. Cignani was trying to make it a physical fight. And sometimes, he had Denny on the ropes and he was smothering his work though, right? So he didn't fully capitalize on the positioning when he had Denny kind of right where he needed him to be. But Denny was getting the better of Cignani on the night, man. He was just a little bit quicker, a little sharper, and it was just more consistent with his work, and he was able to get the win. I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a little bit. People might say, Akeem, I hear what you're saying, bro, but Cignani is 45 years old, and that's true, right? But he still did his thing, right? You got to fight the man that's in front of you, and you got to beat the man no matter what the man's record is, no matter how old it is. You got to find a way to win the fight. Not to mention, that was also Denny's first 12-round fight. Even though the fight didn't go 12-round, it seemed like he was strategically distributing his energy throughout the fight. Even the draw against Wilson Bent the first time that they fought, man, it looked like Denny won the fight to me personally. I thought he boxed very well and he was able to get the win. He was all over Wilson Bent counters, with the pressure, and kind of almost stopped him in that 6th round. A little bit of controversy, a little bit. They called it a head clash, but I didn't see a head clash. I thought it was a punch that caused the cut from Denny. Nonetheless, that's the point. So we move on. He would go on to get his revenge when they fought again, and he got the win the second time around. Personally, I think Denny has a great shot to win this fight. I think it's a step-up fight for him, though. But the thing that he has on the side, and as we've seen, does play a key factor in boxing, is activity, right? We don't really know what version of Felix Cash is going to show up. He's coming off of an injury, he's having a long layoff. And so we don't know if that's truly going to play a factor, but it's the perfect time for Tyler Denny to showcase that, man, I do have the momentum here and I'm a lot better than you think. But let's talk about his opponent, Felix Cash. 16 wins, no losses, 10 wins by way of knockout. As I just mentioned before, I think the big question here for me is which version of Felix Cash is going to show up on the night. The thing with Felix Cash, when you're looking at the entirety of his fight, he has been tested. He's been in some tough fights. Jack Cullen gave him a very good and tough fight. Cash, when they fought, you can tell that he was gunning for the knockout. Kind of both men were. He was staying in the pocket way more than he needed to be. He was sitting right in front of him. He was applying pressure. Cash was going to the body, and he was consistent with his work rate and his volume. Cash scored a knockdown in the first round, but Cullen came back and fought all the way to the end. Felt like Cash was trying to prove a point, right? Trying to prove that he was stronger, that even though he wasn't the bigger fighter physically, but he could be the more stronger, more imposing figure. Because personally, you never need to sit in the pocket that long, because Cash, he can box on the outside if he needs to, right? And his pressure eventually was able to break down Cullen. So he stayed in the pocket and he took some big punishing shots from Cullen, but his work was a lot more consistent, a lot more fluid, a lot more punishing. And eventually, he was able to get the stoppage win against Jack Cullen. He just eventually broke him down with accumulation of punches from round to round. But it was a tough, hard fought, earned victory for Felix Cash. It wasn't just an easy fight. After that, he would fight Denzel Bentley. Cash was getting through very early in the first round in that fight with the right hand. Bentley trying to create space, but Cash didn't give him much space to really breathe. He was applying that consistent pressure, and it didn't look like Cash didn't seem like he respected Bentley's power, because he was just coming forward and walking through shots in order to land shots of his. And then once he caught Bentley on the ropes, overhand right came, dazed Bentley, and he hit him again with a couple more right-handed shots, and it was over. After that, he goes to fight Magomed Ankalaev, and that was another tough fight, man. Ankalaev dropped him twice in that fight, in the second round, and then again in the 10th round. After the first knockdown, Cash became more defensively responsible. He couldn't just come forward and just walk through his opponent's shot, because in boxing, as we know, the right shot placed in the right positioning, that can be the shot that closes out the show and do damage and change the fight instantly. And so after he got knocked down, man, he was a lot more responsible, and we saw a more like a boxing version of Felix Cash, using the jab, using footwork, and making sure that he was able to neutralize some of the stuff Ankalaev was trying to do. He was able to get his rhythm. He was able to find fluid. He was able to be consistent and box much smarter, and not just be this brawling physical guy that we're accustomed to seeing him be. And part of it too was, man, Ankalaev just kept looking for that one shot knockout type of shot. He had him hurt, but he just went for the one shot to try to close out the show, rather than using the jab to set up the shots, using feints a little bit better. But he was able to drop him again in the 10th round with a similar shot that dropped him in the second round. And then Cash got a point deducted. He was holding for dear life, when he got knocked down the second time. And it was interesting because, when you look at the fighter gets knocked down twice, 10-8 round, point deduction, 10-7 round, you're just not sure how the judges are going to score that and what it's going to look like. And at the end of the night, Felix Cash won the fight. Now, he did win the majority of the rounds, in my opinion, but, I felt like that fight took a lot out of him, man. There was an emotional interview after that fight. So he had to dig deep to win those tough, close fights, but he was able to do just that. Now, his most recent fight was an 8-round fight against Celso Neves. We got to call a spade, right? That was not a good showing of Felix Cash, man. It wasn't a good fight, right? He was trying to get Neves out of there in the first round. He was applying serious pressure, letting his hands go, but he just couldn't do it. Right. Neves seemed like, when he felt like Cash was onslaught of every shot and it wasn't really hurting him, he gained confidence from that. And he was pushing Cash back on the back foot. It almost looked like Cash got a little bit tired, maybe a little, discouraged or uninterested in the fight. Maybe he couldn't get up for the fight, but it just wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a really good performance. He did get the win, but it didn't look great. It did not look great. So it's going to be interesting to see which version of Felix Cash that we're going to get on the night. So who wins? Before I give my pick on this fight, I have something real quick to share. I'm always looking to bring more light, more value, more opportunities for the community. I've been working on a few different things in recent weeks to not just grow the channel, but as I said, to continue to provide as much value as I can to each of you in our community. With that being said, I got some exciting news to share. I'm happy to announce my partnership with BetStamp and Signup Expert. It's a great opportunity for you to join some of the best sports books to get the best odds and new user offer. All you have to do is head over to my dedicated page at signupexpert.com/thebreakdown to explore a selection of sports books tailored to your region, each with its own unique offerings. So if you want to place a bet this weekend and on this fight and beyond, check out the link to find the best options for you in your region. Every sign up does support the channel, and it helps the channel grow and to expand and to create more opportunities, not just for me, but for our community. I'm always looking out for you guys as best as I can. You can easily find the link in the description below this videos moving forward. So get down there and check it out and find the best option for you. Now, let's get back to the video. This is interesting, right? Because I think Felix Cash has a better resume. He's fought tougher guys, better opposition. He's been tested a little bit more. He's got more power. But which version of him is going to show up, right? If it's the version that fought Celso Neves, man, shows up. I was talking to my guy TJ about that as well, too. If that's the version of Felix Cash that shows up, he's not going to win this fight. And Denny will walk away with the win. Denny is a southpaw as well, too, and that can be tricky. Denny's a solid fighter. Even if he doesn't have a crazy amount of power like that, he's still got some pop in his shots, so going to be very interesting. And then you also got to take into play the stuff that, you see on paper, like the inactivity. We haven't seen Felix Cash in a while. It's been a long layoff for him, and he's coming off of an injury. So there's a lot that comes into play when you think about which version of Felix Cash that we're going to get. So there's a lot in this fight that actually works to the favor of Tyler Denny when you're taking out your unbiased approach. But when you're looking at the fight, from a factual standpoint, all momentum says Tyler Denny could outbox Felix Cash and get out and edge the win. I think that Tyler Denny is going to have to weather a bunch of the early rounds of the storm and the pressure that's going to come his way. But if he can come out of the first 6 rounds kind of unscathed a little bit, man, I think he can come on strong in the second half of the fight and try to win this fight. I think he is probably in better boxing shape because he's been active more than Felix Cash. And I also don't know how many southpaws Felix Cash has fought to the level of a Tyler Denny, so a little torn in this one, man, because I could see both guys winning this fight. I think they have to fight a disciplined fight. So it's going to be interesting. Denny win, I think, makes complete sense. He's been more active, tricky southpaw, and he's confident. He's feeling good. But Cash has fought tougher competition, and I don't think Tyler Denny on paper is going to be Cash's toughest fight. But he hasn't fought in a while. Coming off an injury, there's some stuff that you can't escape from a physical standpoint. Like injuries add up, and inactivity we've seen in previous fights before have went against fighters. So momentum might not be in his favor. So I think if Tyler Denny, as I said, can weather the early part of the fight and not get knocked out or knocked down, I think there's a good chance that he can win this fight. It's like my mind is saying, man, Akeem, go with Tyler Denny. But my heart is leaning, man, I think Felix Cash can still get it done. So even with all of that I just mentioned, man, and even though with me saying all the momentum seems like it's moving in Tyler Denny's pendulum swing, I'm still going to lean Felix Cash to win this fight by decision. I think him being on the front foot is going to apply good pressure, and I think the judges will like that. Even if all his shots don't connect and don't land, if he can do enough to make Tyler Denny hesitant, I think he can outwork him. He could possibly stop him, absolutely. But, we'll see which version that we get. Just based on Cash's last fight, I think he can outwork Tyler Denny. But, it didn't seem like he had that same power that he kind of had in previous fights before. Could be wrong, but I like Felix Cash to win this fight by some type of decision, split decision victory. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear from you. How do you think this one goes? Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comment section below. I don't always get to do all the suggested videos you guys suggest in the comment section below, but if you become a member, those suggested videos rise to the top, and I will do my best to get those done for you that week. Or if you'd like to become a member just to show love and to support the channel, man, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe to the channel. And we will see you next time.